might,
Let's see, like a decent area, like I said, you got at least, even if the master.
what'd you say?
They pay
What'd you
money.
say?
Like, I'm sorry, did you say $20,000 and you did not? Let me see, that's how many months of the mortgage payment? Yeah, my mortgage will be paid off in like 5 years.
What do you want me to do? Pass them on now?
Yeah, that's a big one we have.
Either that or I take that money and let me see, what else can I invest in, you know? I just looked at my coworker like, you stupid. I was like, look, dude. Well, I gotta move my stuff and all this stuff. I'm like, look, this is what you do for me.
How long have you been with it?
Exactly. That's why I
That
said,
doesn't
I'm like,
have,
well,
so
now
you
you
don't
know.
have the other ones
So
though,
let
right?
him get, something
printed.
to shut out the back or something. Make sure you do that.
It's gonna go to their email.
Lock the garage.
No, I wanted one just so I can go over it.
Oh, sorry.
You got a wife and kid, I think, but still. You still make money.
Destined to be famous because I think it's really a marvelous thing, that visualization thing you did. Do you read about this or hear this? That you used to go up on Mulholland Drive and park and visualize seeing yourself as.
Yeah, I would visualize, I would
This is what you
visualize.
wrote before.
Right.
Yeah, we forgot ours.
I didn't hear about it till the last phone call. I'm like, wait, what's she talking about vision board? That wasn't in the email.
Yeah, it was.
In the email?
Yeah, it's on the picture. It was on a flyer.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
A vision board.
Positive.
Can I play stupid? The flip book?
Not the flip book. Well, yeah, it's in the flip book too. We just want to wait for the stragglers to get in here. I'm just kidding. So, I know a lot of people are new to our game. Not game. That's what I love to So we are, just a little bit about this club. This is a wealth building club. We are, it originally was specifically just real estate investing. It eventually will morph into a lot more than that. One of the things that we recognize that with getting started, getting into real estate investing, it wasn't, I've been to a bunch of classes where they sell you classes, and then the classes, they sell you to other classes, and they really just try to make money off you just coming to the class or paying for those things. And it was a class like that got me into real estate. And some people who know like my background before I got into real estate and became a real estate investor, I was a McDonald's manager. I did not have the real estate skills, but I went to those classes. I learned a lot. I learned a lot. It just kind of gave me the vision of what could happen. I got into real estate, and getting into real estate, I recognize that there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot that people don't realize in it, and some of real estate investing is a lot simpler than you would think, but it just normally it sounds so lofty. You gotta have all this money, you gotta have this positioning, you gotta have this, like all these things put together. But there are so many creative things that I have done, and I want to be intentional about helping like share game. Part of the intention is helping create community, like-minded people. I know one of the things, I'm trying to build a lot of the things that I felt like I needed. And so in my journey, there's a lot of times where I'm looking and saying, man, I wish I had somebody else that was like-minded. Like maybe my family doesn't get, maybe my circle doesn't get what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to like find other like-minded individuals that make me feel like I'm not crazy with some of the things I'm thinking. And so recognizing and being on the other side of that initial portion of it, this is just an attempt to start. Some of my vision board stuff includes some of my outrageous goals. I want to help at least 1,000 people become millionaires, right? Those are stretch goals that I have. Some of my goals are not just about they're not about the actual goals, but they're about the activities I have to do to create those. And so some of the way our class is now structured, what I realized when we started having the investment class, came in and said, hey, this is not just a come and get information class. I don't want you to just come in here and learn and not get into activity. But then I recognized that it feels easier said than done. And so we've kind of evolved the class into there's not just real estate. The intention is you can bring real estate deals. We can have conversations about things that you are working on, but also building connections inside to where maybe there's accountability, maybe there's teamwork, maybe there's opposite talents or skill sets, right? One person has this, one person is great with admin, somebody else is great with, the footwork, and teams that can be built and leveraged to kind of help get there. Man, it's hot in here.
It's hot,
Is there on? So that's a little bit about that. So the reason why we started talking about vision this time, at the beginning of the year, the people who were here, we actually spent time and we worked on vision boards. The intention is making sure that there's clarity, right? What is the reason why? Yes, making money is fun, but I'm sure most people have quit a job that even though they were making money, right? Making money is cool, but what am I doing it for? And so being connected to that. So we made vision boards in the beginning of the year, but I know typically we make the vision boards, we put them to the side, we never look at them again, if we've done that. And the reason why we started working on that is statistically, if you write your vision down, what do we say? 39, 40%? You're 40% more likely to hit your goal, and 76% more likely to hit your goal if you have your written goal down with weekly accountability. And so hopefully, as you are building connections, or either your partners or other people in the room, you can actually start to have somebody who's helping keep you accountable to the things that you're saying you're gonna do. But also, one of the things that I figured out in my life personally is when I get clear about whatever it is that I want to do, and I'm grinding, and sometimes you feel like, man, I don't feel like I have progress. I don't really feel like things are happening, right? Sometimes when we have clarity on what it is that we're looking for, this person that just stepped out, literally today, I said, go, she made a new vision board. I'm telling on you. You shouldn't hear me. She made a new vision board. I said, where's your old vision board? The one from the beginning of the year. She pulled it up. She's like, oh, I didn't make one. Yes, you did. She pulled it up. And when she pulled up the vision board, she started at the beginning of the year. There were things on the vision board that she's already accomplished that she wasn't even aware. And so I think that's a big part of the reason why I wanted to say, pull those things back out. For one, for some people, I'm hoping that you look at it and say, hey, I didn't even realize that I'm making this type of progress. For two, is so that we can get clear and make sure that the vision boards the vision is kind of like your orientation, right? I think there's probably nothing worse than thinking that you're following a map, and you're following the map, and you're following the map, and then you finally realize that the map is of Dallas. Right? It's getting clear and saying, okay, is this what I want to do? Not only is this what I want to do, am I willing to pay the cost? Right? Some things sound cool, oh, I want to have $1 million. Cool. I'm going to pick on somebody. I want to have $10,000 of passive income within 3 years. Right? Sounds cool. But now I got to sit down and say, what does it cost? What does it actually cost me to do that? And am I prepared to pay the cost? Can I sit down and write a plan and like actually be diligent about following the plan to get to that? I looked at a lot of people. There was a few people that, there's a lot of celebrities that talk about their vision board. And I actually had a similar experience. It's kind of funny because when I found this one, I could relate to it for a couple reasons. One, when I first got started, so after I went to the class, I got into real estate, and I had been just grinding. And I'm just hustling. This, that, everything that I'm doing all over the place. And I just said, hey, you know what? If I can make $2,000 a month, like I feel like I'm doing something with real estate. And I put it on my wall right before I walk out the door. It's right here, right before I walk out the door. And I'm going. And one day I stopped paying attention to it. It's right by my door, but I stopped paying attention to it. One day I looked at it and I said, oh, if I make $2,000, that something's gonna be bad. So I raised it. I said, I'm gonna super stretch this goal to $10,000 a month. And then I passed that, and I thought that was like as big as I could think. And so it was one of those things that getting clear, right? And I'm hustling, but I'm getting clear and allowing yourself to think as big as you can, right? Create that energy. There's another exercise that I did. It was a real estate class and I meant to go look for it. I'm gonna look for it, I'm gonna bring it to the class. But I went to the class, and I'm telling you, this is as big as I felt like I could possibly think. And in the exercise, you write a letter to yourself a year from now. And you say, if you're really committing to the exercise, you're actually talking like it's present tense. Like, I have done this thing, like these are all the things that I've accomplished. And I know from what I remember, there's a couple things on that I still haven't done. But and I'm telling you, I'm thinking as big as I possibly can. And I say in 10 years, I'm gonna have 5 properties. I have not been in real estate for 10 years, and I have over double that. And it's just been one of those things and so a lot of times it's just stop and saying, let me stop and make sure that I have clarity. But this video I found from Jim Carrey, like I just thought this was pretty interesting.
Obviously, you knew somewhere inside yourself that you were destined to be famous, because I think it's really a marvelous thing, that visualization thing you did. Do you all read about this or hear this? That you used to go up on Mulholland Drive and park
every night.
And visualize seeing yourself as...
Yeah, I would visualize,
This is when you were broke and poor.
Right, having directors interested in me and people that I respected saying, I like your work or whatever that is, and I would visualize things coming to me that I wanted or whatever.
This was in like 1987, 85.
Yeah. And I had nothing at that time, so it was like, but it just made me feel better. It made me, at that time, all it really was for me was kind of making me feel better. I would drive home and think, well, I do have these things. They're out there. I just don't have a hold of them yet, but they're out there.
Okay, so you would get this from what, self-help books or whatever?
Yeah, self-help section.
Self-help section.
Reading to the Jim Carrey wing.
So didn't you write yourself a check? I heard that you did. Is that true?
I wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and I gave myself 5 years, or 3 years maybe, and I dated it Thanksgiving 1995, and I put it in my wallet and I kept it there. It deteriorated and stuff, but then just before Thanksgiving 1995, I found out that I was going to make $10 million on, I think it was Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber, yeah. So you visualize yourself visualization works if you work hard.
So I don't think it's just visualization, right? I don't want it to sound hokey and like all you have to do is just think about it, and like I don't believe that in the least bit, right? But I do believe that when you get clear, like let me give you a perfect example, and I think I've talked about this for the people who've been around it. In 2020, in 2020, like everybody knows what happened in 2020. That was the first time, like I always, when people talk to me about goals and goal setting and a lot of different things, I said, oh, like, especially when it comes to real estate, because my genuine interest in real estate is really just about serving. It's not about, I want to sell a certain number of houses or, you know, whatever. Like, and so whenever people ask me, well, what's your goal? And I just felt inauthentic by, like, I either throw a number out and say, I don't have a goal. And as a business owner, right, and the community conversation is like, oh, you have this specific goal. Like, I felt probably inadequate, right? Like, I just didn't feel like I was being a great business owner because I didn't have a real number. Like, I'm hustling, right? I'm doing numbers, but I don't have a specific number that I'm trying to hit. And going into 2020, I got clear. Like, this is the first time I really sat down and said, like, for my business, I want to get a certain amount of clarity. And so among the things that I put on there, I said I wanted to start 2 businesses. I like 2 new additional businesses in addition to the real estate business that I had. And it was interesting because, you know, the world ended. And so like everybody was kind of running and there was a lot of it, but then an opportunity came up where somebody's having a conversation to me. And he's asking me, somebody who, he was in a weird situation and he's asking me to give him work. And I'm like, oh, like, he's like, he actually comes to me and says, I will work for you if you can just make sure that I've got business at Christmas time. You know, where I'm working currently, I don't consistently have business at Christmas time. And I'm like, hey, I'm not hiring. Like, what do you, I'm not taking on the responsibility. But then because I was clear, this is something I wanted to do, I had to stop and audit. And so what that eventually ended up being a construction company that I opened, right? And because I was clear, but 2020 was pandemonium, right? A lot of people were not all over the place. And so it was absurd to me because I did start 2 businesses during that year. And those 2 businesses actually helped me sustain. I started doing credit repair and I started doing the construction. And those things actually supported my other business more than I realized that they would have. And so my skill set, a lot of those things, and it wasn't just because, you know, this thing, I thought about it, but it gave me a certain amount of clarity. I would like to shift to at least to the people who had come to the original one, the one that do have the vision board. I'm curious if anybody has any ahas from looking at the vision board now since the beginning of the year.
I do. Okay, so.
Who are you?
Hi everyone, my name is Odessa Koya, I'm a wholesaler. Okay, so my vision board, I wanted to make more connections, and I recently came across a commercial deal. I technically didn't sell a property, they ended up leasing it, but I met a commercial agent, and he's like one of the top agents. It's his dad's company. But now we're friends and he trusts me because he didn't want to work with me because I was a wholesaler. But I got him on my side, so I made like a different connection. Originally he didn't want to work with me, but now we're friends.
You throw that out there.
Oh, and I got 2 properties under contract this month.
Let's go.
So those are the ones I want to sell to you. The ones on
The ones you were talking about?
Yes. Those.
Let's go.
But he owes child support, so it's going to take a little bit longer. And he didn't tell me till after, but it's fine. I'm hoping it's not too much. But yes, if you're under contract, it's just taking long because I told you it's his mom's property and she died without a will, so it's going to take a little bit longer. So, but yes, I got 2 under contract this month.
Are you doing the
The affidavit of heirship, yes.
Okay.
So he did a little while, but he got under contract.
Fantastic.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's what we're talking about, activity. Anybody else?
I'll go. My name is Renee Rodriguez. I am a realtor here with Keller Williams. I did my vision board early in the year, just planning myself out. I have been to Paris, as I have one here.
Let's go.
Before I transferred here, I did get into the $1 million club. I mean, yeah, $1 million. And I have not got a new car yet, but I will be in 2 months. I haven't learned a new language, but I'm practicing.
Okay.
So right now I'm just still working on learning more and restructuring my financial goals and working on my retirement.
Let's go. Let's go. I think I saw Ralph.
So my name is Rafael Diaz. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, financial advisor, also own a home inspection company. What I realized in our vision board, I don't have it here, sorry guys, but what we did have in there was a lot of goals, and something Anthony talked about was the cost. And the cost of having goals means you need to have organized vision. And so because we have a lot of things going on in our family and in our business life, we had to learn to maximize our time, and that came at a cost to saying no to other things. So when you want to get your finances in order, you're gonna have to say no. When you wanna get your schedule in order, you're gonna have to say no. There's a lot of things that come with no's to get to your yeses, if that makes sense. So that's something I've learned, that we've had to program ourselves throughout this time.
I don't know why Ashley takes this long, because she knows I'm gonna call him there.
And we're just looking at you.
I just don't know what to say. Like, I have very lofty goals, and when I set my $10,000 in passive income per month in 3 years, I genuinely felt like it was possible. But as I'm going through and trying to take the action to get to those goals, it is way more difficult than I could have ever been prepared for, right? Not that it isn't possible. I know that it's possible, but I am the biggest problem in my life. I start making action, I start seeing results in those actions, and I let fear and anxiety take over. And some days it's so much worse than others. But I'm sorry, getting emotional for no reason. I'm taking action anyways. I'm not letting it stop me. I refuse.
It's the weather, Ashley. It's the weather. I cried before I came in.
So this is one of the things that I think most of us struggle with. I think most people they overestimate what can get done in 1 year and underestimate what can get done in 5 or 10 years. And so the thing is, and one of the books that I'm gonna recommend to the class, I have a couple books that some optional books to recommend for your enjoyment, is the compound effect, right? And so it does feel like when you're getting started, when you're pushing, like at the beginning, you have to make a lot of changes up front to get things going. It takes a lot of energy to make $10,000 a month, just working. And so to say $10,000 a month passive, it's supposed to, like you have to, and this is one of the things about getting clear, right? One thing about getting clear is, now that I'm actually understanding, right? A lot of times we say, hey, we set these goals that we say we're gonna do on our 1 day, and we start to kind of sort of chase them, but now I gotta figure out, what does it actually cost me? And am I really willing to pay that price? I think the other thing about setting a goal like that is, I have goals like that. Some of my goals are specifically because not just for the goal, but for the types of decisions, for the types of changes I have to make to be able to be there, right? I have some goals that maybe I expect to do it, maybe it's just a thing that I set up there, right? I have a goal of being on the Forbes Best Places to Work. That is a lofty goal. There are some things now that I have to do to start working towards that type of goal. Do I actually plan to be in that? I won't tell y'all. But some of the goals are because they change how I have to do certain things. Getting into real estate, being an introverted person, understand people are surprised that I'm introverted. No, I have these lofty goals that I have to do a lot of these things. I don't have a choice if I want to hit the goals that I have, to get outside my comfort zone. I have to go out and push and do what it takes in order to hit I am fully prepared to pay the cost, right? And so it means whatever that looks like. This is the thing, last time we talked about it and I said, I believe that everybody should make it a standard based on what I see with the economy now. Millionaire should be like that's the baseline. And Renee, would you agree? Just because being a millionaire doesn't mean And so this is the other thing. This is the reason why getting clear, but also setting a goal like that. Doing a lot of the work now. The other day I'm literally going at the gym. I get to the gym, worked out, I'm outside the office. See, this is why I don't do cardio. I'm outside the gym, I'm walking outside the gym. I'm walking in the parking lot. In an open parking lot. Somebody is inches away from hitting me. I'm talking about if I would have sneezed, they would hit me. In the open parking lot. And I'm looking at this and saying, I am glad that I built a lot of the things that I'm building, because just like that could have changed a lot of things. And so I have some things that can help support and cover me. I was almost going to open up the door for these guys who are going to jump me. I was going to say it. I said, I don't have insurance. I have a life insurance.
We're about to judge you, sir.
These insurance guys are about to come out there. But it's just one of those things where I'm looking and saying, like, in an instant. And I don't know any of you guys, if you think about that, like a situation like that, you can be doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and somebody else can take you off your game if you're not getting and building this financial wall for your family now. And so that's the reason why, like this, getting clear about this, and a lot of times, even we start putting things on a vision board. One of the things that I was going to kind of go through, but I don't see enough vision boards, so I won't do it. But even going and drilling down on the vision board and saying, okay, I have these things that I put on there, but let's actually look and see about the cost. What does it actually look like? Like, let's spend some time figuring out, yes, I put this thing on here, but let me get a map to get there. What does it actually look like for me to get there? I don't want it just to be, I visualized it. I'm actually sitting down and making a plan for it. And what does that look like? And so I would definitely encourage, that is something that you should do. If you need some time, if you want to work on it, like, this is something that I'm super passionate about. So I'm willing to, like, spend some time. Like, I'm not going to spend all the time. You got to do the work. There's probably going to be a threshold of entry. All my disclaimers. But if you need some help with I understand it is not normal to sit down and write goals. It is not normal to sit down and allow yourself to think and picture, especially if you're in a situation where you have had a lot of obstacles, especially if you're in a situation to where, like, you've had so many things happen that kind of make it feel uncomfortable for you to dream as big as you possibly can. Y'all been wondering, anybody wondering why I got this Charlie Brown shirt? It's just attention.
Yeah, it was just the attention.
It's Charlie Brown.
Oh, cool.
That used to be my alias, Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown used to be my alias. What's significant about Charlie Brown? Why is everybody always picking on me? It was woe is me. I always felt like I got the short end of the stick. I always had all these things happening. If it was gonna happen to somebody, it was gonna happen to me. Right? It was one of those, like, it just felt like I couldn't win for losing. So I can understand when you have that. That's literally why I have this shirt. Like I bought it because it was part of my identity. I still have it because, I don't know, it's cool. Find some outfit to match with it. So I definitely understand if you have had a history of like tough decisions, or I was the black sheep. My sister's rolling her eyes back there. But I can understand that, but the good thing is you can definitely make a lot of changes. And it comes down to being intentional, right? The thing is understanding and getting clear that sometimes it takes a shift. Everybody got these papers? I want everybody to just spend a few seconds
You got it?
looking at the little papers that we have. Get a good look. Try to identify. If you've seen this before, don't ruin it for everybody. Everybody got a good look at that piece of paper? Ralph, what do you see?
I see an eagle wrapping its wings.
You said it.
Wow.
I see that now. Wow. I didn't see that before.
I also see a lady, but I see the eagle.
Describe the age of the lady.
I see her covering herself.
How old do you think she is?
Probably looks like she might be like 75.
75. Des is making a face. She doesn't know what you're talking about.
I don't see face. I see her nose like she's looking for it. Where do you see a face? Like her head is covered and I see her curly hair.
Ours is a little different.
Oh.
Yeah, our picture is a little different. There's a little,
That's the other one.
Because like her face, it's like she's looking that way, and like that's her nose right there.
yeah, I see that on this one too. It's just a little different.
So the reality is you guys are both looking at the same picture up here, but you've been conditioned differently. And so what you see up here is different than what you see based on what you have in the paper.
I would say that
Mine's different, but
she has a different.
See, we have the same one. You doesn't have a face.
I have that.
Is it exactly the same? Is that
I think
exactly
so.
the same?
It won't be gaslit.
Different picture.
This
Oh
one
yeah,
has
that
a,
is also.
this one has a prettier necklace.
But the thing is, so she's in this picture. Oh wait, sorry. I'm gaslighting you. That was the one.
It's you.
That's the old one and the young.
The second
She's
one
a
is
young
the one
girl.
we
She has
have.
a feather in her head. She has fur on.
The only difference is the feather.
So she also looks like,
That's not
yeah,
bad.
like
If
looking to
you
the
look out.
over her shoulder.
What?
That's the wrong one.
It's a different one that we have, but I saw it on there.
This is the one.
That's not the one we have.
This is the one that I have on the exercise. This is the one that I'm looking for you guys to tell me about.
Okay.
That
I see a young
He was wrong at the beginning. No.
It could be an old woman and a young woman.
We don't have that picture.
You don't have that picture, right?
Yeah.
But you're conditioned to see the younger lady. Do you see the younger lady on here?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you see the older lady on here?
Yes.
Yes.
You don't see the older lady on here.
Yes, I see both.
I see a young lady with a nice fur jacket on.
Renee, do you want to show her your paper?
lady.
I see
Yeah.
the lady.
This
Show her your paper.
This is the old lady.
All right,
Oh,
this is
she
a young
is.
lady.
I see her nose. Okay, that's.
Now, do you see the old lady?
Now you can see the young lady
Oh,
on the
wow.
map.
Right, you can see both.
Ooh,
I like the young lady that don't have the feather on it.
young lady looking to the right, old lady looking down. She looks like Eustace from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
But you can see the old lady from here.
So if you have the perspective, you can see the other one. And so in the book, so that actually is from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is one of the books that I'm going to recommend for you guys. But in the book, this is not what they're referring to. But when I saw it in the book, and this is one of the books that I read probably at least every year. And there's no, a lot of times people say, "Oh, I've already read that book." I read this book every time and get something else. I have probably 150 books on my phone and go through most of them, and every time I get something different. And what I realize is I'm usually at a different place to where some of the things that they're talking about mean something different to me. But when I saw this is not what they were talking about, but what I connected this with is recognizing opportunities, right? If I'm being conditioned a certain way, I may not recognize an opportunity that somebody else may recognize. And so it may be hard. That's the reason why for me, I realize sometimes it's kind of hard. And some of you guys will probably also, on your growth journey, will start to realize that there's some people, it's hard to help them because they're not seeing things. They're still looking at the conditioning from the other ones, right? And so you may recognize an opportunity and they may not see it as an opportunity. And so they may say, hey, that's not, right? And so this is one of the things, when it comes to understanding and recognizing, there may be some things I have to unlearn. I talked about this last time. For me, don't let my sister's also stubborn. So before right, my stubbornness helped me. It was a big part of what I had to do. Like, I put my blinders on, even with getting into real estate. It was very different than what anybody in my family had done. My dad is trying to tell me, oh, well, HEB's hiring. And I'm I'm not trying to be a bum. I'm locked in. This is something I'm trying to do. And it just seemed like it was like, oh, I'm just out here doing weird things. And so my stubbornness helped me, but I also understand that sometimes my stubbornness hinders me, right? And so when I looked at this and I said our conditioning sometimes makes it hard for us to consume information properly. And so even when it comes to how we look at what I can do, how many people can do 50 push-ups?
You're talking like assisted, like on your knees kind of thing? Is that
Perspective.
Right, but realistically, can I do 50 push-ups today? Maybe, maybe not. Is it something, do I think that it's possible is a different question, right? And a lot of the same answers are, no, I can't do 50 push-ups. But if I do a push-up today, rest, do another push-up, 5 hours from now, tomorrow I do 2 push-ups, rest, do 5 hours later, do another 2 push-ups. Could I get to 50 push-ups? Probably, right? If it was something that was important to me and I was willing to pay the cost, right? But a lot of times it's just instantly, can you do 50 push-ups? My answer is going to be no. And when it comes to and this is part of the reason why we're having this conversation leading into the real estate investing, because again, the reason why I started having this class is because real estate investing has been a game changer. And there are so many ways everybody can get into real estate investing today, regardless of how much money you have. But if you don't believe that, that's gonna be an opportunity to grow. So the people who have come to real estate investing classes before, tell everybody what are some of the ways that you can get into real estate investing. Rob.
You get into real estate investing by wholesaling.
Wholesaling. Not a des. Who knows what wholesaling is? What is wholesaling?
Basically buying properties off of someone else, but you're not, I don't know how to say it, not under full contract, and then you turn around and sell it to somebody.
So you are under full contract.
Okay.
So what wholesaling is I go and I say, Michelle, I want to buy your house. Will you sell it to me for $50,000?
Sure.
Yes, Michelle says she will sell her house to me for $50,000. I go in and say, actually, Ralph, I got this house that's worth $200,000. Will you buy it once it's fixed up?
Yes.
Will you buy it for me for $70,000?
Yes.
Here, sign this contract. Now, I take the contract that I bought from Michelle, the paperwork I signed, I take it to the earnest money, I did my earnest deposit, whatever we agree on. Maybe $1,000, maybe less, maybe whatever. Take that to the title company. I turn around, Ralph, who's gonna bring the money for the whole deal, brings the money to the closing table. Michelle got $50,000, I got $20,000. That's wholesaling. I didn't have to bring very much money to the closing table. All I had to put was that earnest money, right? If I found the right deal, then there was money to be made, right? I had to find the right deal, and I had to be able to find somebody who would be willing to buy the deal.
And fix up the house.
That's all their problem. I don't care about what they do. They can fix it, they can die in it, I don't care. Right? That's what wholesaling is. What other ways can you get into real estate investing? Novation. Does anybody know what a novation is? Not Ashley. Novation is, I'm sorry, you told me your name? Michelle's friend?
Deja.
Deja. Deja or Asia?
Deja.
I don't know why I heard Asia earlier. Now I'm glad I asked you. Deja, do you want to sell me your property? I know you heard about the money that I just made off of selling Michelle's property. And you live next door to her. I want to buy your property for $50,000. I know you heard about her deal. You heard that she made more money. Are you going to sell it to me for $50,000? No. Why not? Well, you need, okay, what about, okay, I can do 55. Will you take that? No, okay. What about, I have this creative way, what if I can help you get, okay, I'm gonna get you $100,000. You just gotta give me a little bit of time, right? Give me 4 months, but I'm gonna give you $100,000. How about that? Does that sound like a fair deal? Okay, so let's sign this contract, give me a power of attorney. Now I have permission to go and sign all the paperwork for selling your house. Whatever I do, now you agree, for 4 months from now, you'll get your $100,000. Whatever I'm gonna do, if I need to fix it up, right? I can go in there, I can paint the cabinets, I can redo the floors, I can paint the walls, whatever I need to do. I can turn around, I can sell it, I can put it under contract, somebody else can buy it, they bring me the money. All I paid for was the improvements. Maybe we made an arrangement that I took over the monthly payments too. I didn't have to qualify for a traditional loan. All I did was whatever I had to do to get it ready to sell and make my money. That person brings their money. It can be a conventional loan, it can be cash, whatever. They bring the money, they pay you your $100,000, and whatever else on top of that is mine. That's novation. What other ways can we?
And if it doesn't sell, what does he get? A house that's fixed up.
Penalty if he doesn't come up with the money?
No.
I mean, legally we have a contract, but is she gonna sue me because I fixed up the house and so there is a, right? I don't have to fix up the house. If I can figure out how to make it, I don't have to do anything. If I can see that the house makes sense and I got a buyer and I can just do whatever I market it, then it's a little bit more flexible. I can negotiate repairs. She's giving me power of attorney. So I can do everything. If I want to pay commissions, I want to negotiate repairs, I want to do whatever, I can do all that stuff. I can sign for it. I just need her at the closing table to sign. That's novation.
And you can't get mad at the closing table if it sells $250,000. You agree to the $100,000.
And transparency is key, right?
Yeah.
I know there's some naturally, like normally you hear, if you're, depending on your line of thinking, you say, well, that sounds, what if they, yeah, there's lots of things, nuanced things with that. But we've done a few of those transactions, and when you're providing clarity, you're having conversations, everybody knows what's going on, it's an easy transaction. What other ways can you make money in real estate?
You can JV with other investors.
JV with other investors, what does that mean?
You can do a joint venture. So basically, say Anthony and I, we both see a house, we both put our money in and we buy it and we own it and then we rent it out.
Yeah, so we can partner, somebody else is like, hey, I don't have to have all the money. I can partner with somebody else who's got some money and they can do, and we can leverage our resources. What about the free stuff? What about the stuff I have to use no money? How can I do it with no money at all? I know we said wholesaling, there's a little bit of money. And depending on how you do it, I've seen some wholesale contracts where they put like $10 in the contract. I'm like, wow.
Is there something with taxes or something? Like buying, what you said?
I don't want to get into tax liens because there's a lot of stuff with tax liens. It's not no money. You have to spend some money. Tax liens, that's a different class. That's a whole different class. What is bird dogging? We talked about bird dogging.
It's whenever you go out and you find, like, say, hey man, would you like to sell your house? Yes. And then you go and tell me, the wholesaler, I'll give you some money, and that's how it gets started. That's free.
Did everybody understand what she said? So literally bird dogging is where you go and you find a property, you go have conversations, whatever that looks like for creating conversations, lead generations. You're talking to people and you're saying, hey, you hear somebody say that they got a distressed property, you're going to go chase down foreclosures, whatever you're doing to go and find somebody who has a distressed situation. And then you say, hey Anthony, hey Hector, hey Ashley, I've got this deal, somebody who wants to sell. I don't know the paperwork, I don't know how to do all that stuff. I trust you, you get to the closing table, like, I need a cut. Right? I can make $1,000 by just having the conversation and making the connection. I don't have to do all the real estate stuff. I don't have to get in there. I don't have to have all the knowledge. Maybe I probably want to learn, right, as I'm getting to the next level. Maybe it's down the road. Maybe I'm just like, hey, I just like having conversations with people. And the main person who needs to be hearing this is not in the room. Where's she at? Because she knows a lot of people. I'm going to get her when she comes back in here. Everybody should clap for her when she comes back. I'm just kidding. But a lot of times, just for having conversation, I can say, hey, I know somebody who has this situation. Let me connect you with this person, and you can make $1,000.
It's referrals pretty much. And I pay $1,000 for anyone who has referrals. I give you $1,000.
Me too. What other ways can we get into, what other ways are there to invest in real estate?
Buy a primary home.
Buy a primary home. Buying a primary home is what I feel like is the easiest way to become a real estate investor. And buying a home, let me be very clear, just because you buy a home does not mean you are investing. Buying a home does not automatically translate into an investment. If you're not buying right, if you're not buying with intention, if you're like, hey, I just want to have a house and buying at the top of my price range or buying, like, that might not be investing. But when I buy a primary residence, especially with intention, and then I can buy a new primary residence and rent out the old one. That's the easiest way that I believe that you can become a real estate investor for multiple reasons. For one, renting out my old house doesn't sound as scary as buying a house to rent out a house. Would everybody agree with that? Like I know all my weird little things about my house. I know that when the bathroom plug stops working, I gotta go to the garage, flip the switch. Like, and so if a renter were to call about that, like I feel like I know everything about the house. So renting the house doesn't feel that scary. And the reason why I like to mention that is because I realized the hardest part about becoming an investor was mentally becoming an investor. Like I wasn't mentally an investor until I had 3 properties. And somebody kept calling me an investor. I'm like, I'm not an investor. Like I was just solving problems and I ended up with these, and now I'm like, oh, I am an investor. Right? Mentally making the switch to become an investor, like as I become a landlord, I'm just renting out my old house, but then like there's a certain point where you start to shift and you say, oh, like I am an investor. Now this doesn't seem so scary because everybody's heard those horror stories about renting out your properties to renter. And so if I'm gonna buy a house and then put 20% down, or fix it up and flip it, and then I put a renter in there and they tear it up, like you go down all the negative path, right? But renting out my old house, like that feels like something I can manage. And when you get into it, you say, oh, it's not really as bad as I thought it was. Like, okay, I'm more prepared to do it again. But also, when you buy a new primary residence, you get the better interest rate. Qualifying is easier. The down payment is lower, right? And sometimes you can actually leverage your primary property. If you've got equity in your primary property, you can leverage that. That's how I bought my first investment property. I used equity from my first house for the down payment on my second house. So I borrowed money to borrow money. But I also think that most people don't use their real estate correctly. When I bought my first house, my only intention was in 30 years, I'm gonna have this house paid off, and then like my life will be cheaper because I don't have a mortgage, right? And I'm not even realizing that you can access that equity and you can use it for stuff. I can use it for financing a business. I can use it for real estate investing. If I wanted to use it and make my house into my dream house, I can use it to do that, right? But I can actually access and use that money if I need to get access to it. What other ways are there to invest?
Fix and flips.
Fix and flips. Everybody knows what fix and flip is, right? That's the fun stuff that you see on TV. You see Chip and Joanna. Hector is always fun.
I was gonna say, but is it really?
It don't look like it does on TV. So fix and flips. A lot of people, when they get into real estate investing, they feel like that's the holy grail of real estate investing. Like, oh, I can flip houses, and that's when I'm a real investor. And so, as far as real estate investment vehicles, there's a lot of better ones. It's a cool one, especially if you need to, like the whole purpose is making cash, right? And so you can make cash quickly if you have good contractors and you have good plan and all the asterisks, right? But when you flip a property, right, you buy into it. How do I flip a property? I buy it for less than what it's worth. I make sure that I'm factoring in the appreciation, like are the repairs that I can do, and I can force appreciation to it. I buy it for $100,000. I'm putting $20,000 into it, and it's worth $250,000. Right? I'm forcing the appreciation of it on it, and so the market will pay $250,000 because I've done this repairs to it. Now, I really believe that one of the opportunities of flipping, I feel like there's a lot more that can be leveraged with community with flipping that's not. I think everybody, one of the things that I was talking about, the hard part of flipping is dealing with contractors. Like being able to make sure that everything is happening like it's supposed to. That makes a big difference, right? And you know, sometimes they poke your eyes, you gotta all that figure out, like, am I getting the right pricing? But with community, like, how hard is it to paint a 1,200 square foot, 1-story house if everybody in this room showed up to the house with paintbrushes? Right. And so there's a lot of things that I feel like, side note, since my sister's here, I'm gonna throw this out there. This is actually one of the things I've been thinking about. I'm like, we should just have a day where we just commit once a month to go and work on everybody's house. Like we just commit our labor just to make sure everybody's house is different little projects, right? It doesn't cost you very much money. You do whatever. We'll start at my house. But I really think that with flipping, I think it's a miss. Especially there are some things like I see churches. I think churches really should be doing they ask people for a lot of money, but realistically bringing resources together and saying, hey, we could put all these things together, get everything knocked out, and force appreciation to flip. Now, one of the reasons why I say flipping is not always the best is there's tax things that go with flipping, right? If I flip a property, I am subject to capital gains unless I'm using it. There's tax stuff. I'm not a tax person. I'm not going to go there because most of you guys are not flipping properties. So, but there is other ways to get access to cash without flipping it per se, without selling it. How do you do that, Ashley?
You can do a cash out refinance or a HELOC. If you buy it under market value, then you can take it to the bank
I
later.
thought you were going to say Burr, but yes.
Yes. Well, that's in there. Refinance. One of the others.
So if you've heard of the Burr method, Burr is I buy it, I renovate it, I rent it, I repeat. Oh yeah, refinance, thank you. Right? So you can buy it, and so with buying it, well, that doesn't make sense why I refinance, right? So when I buy it, I can buy with hard money. And so does anybody who's not Hector, what is hard money? Hector's a hard money lender.
It's like a high interest rate, but it's like a lot of money, like lesser terms or something like that. Like it's easier to get, but usually higher interest rate or something like that.
Private people, private lenders?
So private money is along the lines of a hard money lender. But so a hard money lender or private money lender, they're gonna lend mostly based on the property. So I'm looking to say, does the property meet these criteria, whatever criteria we set up? We say, what's the formula we say is our general formula that we're looking for if we know if it's a deal?
70% of the ARV minus renovation.
70% of the ARV after repair value minus the renovation cost. So if the house after it's fixed up is worth $100,000 and it's $20,000 in repairs, the most I can pay for it is $50,000. $50,000 plus the $20,000 in repair. And so why the hard money lender, the private money lender like that is because they're safe. They're relatively safe. They look at it and they say, hey, I'm all in at 70% on this thing. So yes, maybe I trust you, maybe I don't, but I look at the real estate, I get it verified, I have an appraiser, I do whatever I do to make sure that I understand the numbers, but we are actually secured by real estate. So 70%, like it looks good, I'll lend you the money. Depending on your experience, it may cost you a little bit more. If you don't have experience, you're higher risk. So you're going to pay more in points, that's a percent of the loan, right? Typically you're going to pay anywhere between 3 and 5 points. If you're a newer investor, you're probably going to pay about 12% on interest. And so 12%, that comes out to like you're going to have a monthly payment of about, let's just say 1% of the purchase price. So if I buy in that 70 scenario, I have a $700 a month interest payment throughout the course of the loan. So it benefits me to get in and get out. That's why we say contractors are important. But the great part of that deal is I don't have to qualify through traditional methods. They look at it and they say the property is good, we like it, we will lend you based on the property, And so in that, I don't have to have all the money for the entire project. Because the reason why they rolled that $20,000 in there is because that money they're gonna reimburse you. So they're lending you that money, and so whatever you need to do to get it done, like you say, you're gonna put together a bid. You're gonna say, it's gonna cost me $5,000 to paint, $10,000 for the floor, $12,000 for the roof, right? Once you go get the paint done, they're gonna send somebody out to say, yep, the paint looks good. Here's a check for $5,000, or here's your wire for $5,000. So they reimburse you, right? So like, if I know how to paint, I don't have to hire somebody else to paint. I just go paint it myself, right? They like, depending on what the hard money lender is looking for, provide whatever they need. But I go in there, I do whatever the work is, and so then I can go in there and do the work, or I can get the work done. So once I go in, and I'm gonna tell you, my first real flip project, I put everything I could, and I'm not recommending this, I'm just telling you what I did. I put everything I could in that Amex so I could pay in 30 days. Oh, I am.
You're very risky.
Oh, yeah, I am. But, like, I went in, I said, hey, you know, we get whatever work done, right? And I put it on the Amex. Then they came out, they verified it, they released the funds, and then I was able to pay the Amex. But like they reimburse you, and now the good thing about that is now I'm all the way in the property for about 70 to 75% of what that property is worth. That creates a margin of safety, right? If you ever hear people talking about losing money in real estate, they probably didn't follow that, or they're probably speculating. They probably said, oh, this is gonna be the next Pearl. This is gonna be the next Riverwalk. This is gonna be the next, and so they're paying a little bit higher than what they should because they're hoping. And that's gambling. Straight up, that's gambling. And that's how you lose. But if I'm all in at 70%, 75%, I've got options. I can sell it like my original plan was. After my cost of sale, maybe make 15, 20% profit, right? I could also refinance it. And I refinance it, now I keep that property as a rental, put somebody in there. Ideally, the plan is I can rent it out based on the income. And there's a lot of different loan products. One of them is a DSCR. Anybody not Jackie, do you know what a DSCR is? Jackie's a lender.
Debt service coverage?
There's an R.
I don't know.
Ratio. Debt service coverage ratio. And so debt service coverage ratio loan they'll lend you the money for it if the rents make sense. So if you got a renter in place, or they're looking at what it will rent for, and the property, they can refinance out of that hard money loan and get into a debt service coverage ratio, or there's other loan products too. But that's one of the easiest ones for investors, and that one they're not looking at all your banks, getting all your business, and they just look the meat and potatoes. But they're really, again, looking to qualify based on the property. And so in some loan products, there's some of them that you can actually cash out and pull money out of the property. So in some of them, like if I do it right, now that property, I'm a fixed up property, it's a rental, it cash flows great. I have one property, I bought it, I still have this property. It's in Dover. Anybody know where Dover, Texas is? You know where Dover is. And so I have this property, and I bought this property for $145,000. I bought it with a hard money loan. It required $25,000 in work. So I'm all the way in about $170. The property was worth, they appraised it at $270. And so I was able to do a cash out refinance, and I was able to pull $70,000 out of that property. That's the good thing. I did not sell the property, so I don't have to pay taxes on it. So I was able to pull money out of the property. Now, there was a big difference between what I would have rented it for if I hadn't pulled that cash out compared to what I'm renting it for now. And that was one of the things I had to look at. But I was able to pull cash out of it without, if I would have flipped it, if I'd have sold it, I would have paid capital gains, I've taken 25% of the profit, plus commissions and all the other things, right? I was able to pull that money out, not have to pay, I still have the property. And so that's in the BRRRR. What other ways can we buy properties?
You could BRRRR while you live in there, depending on the situation. Like you could house hack.
House hacking. Anybody heard of house hacking? It was cool. I haven't heard people talk about house hacking anymore. It was cool a little while ago. My sister said she don't like house hacking. House hacking is one of the main ways of house hacking is you're buying a house and you may be renting out other rooms in the house, right? And so you're using other people to help cover the mortgages or the mortgage, right? And so like my mortgage may be $1,500, but I got 4 bedrooms and each one of them is paying $500 for the rent. Right now I'm living for free. I'm house hacking.
Buy a duplex and house hack.
You can buy a duplex, you can buy a multifamily and house hack. A lot of people don't realize when you buy a multifamily, it is easier to qualify for a high, it may be, asterisk, it may be easier to qualify for a multifamily, for a higher amount with multifamily than the traditional house. Why?
The other units count.
You can use the income coming in from the other units as income, as qualifying income. And so you can, like I may be able to buy a $500,000 multifamily if I have the cash for the down payment and not be able to buy a $200,000 traditional house. And so even if we were doing like I'm buying a new house to live in and rent out the old one, or buying a new house and then like maybe I'm renting out like buying a new multifamily, maybe I just like play it safe and I rent out some of the rooms to my family. Does that sound like a great idea? I like renting? No, probably not, right?
I went into a house I was showing the client, my buyers, this house. It's 6 bedrooms.
We saw it. I saw it.
And
It's interesting. 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, the one over on
right off of
289, right? It's,
right off of
Yep.
Judson. And I walked in, I'm like, they converted the garage into actually an
The master,
ensuite.
yeah.
And then when I went upstairs, well, downstairs in the back you got 2 rooms, they're bedrooms. And when I went upstairs, there's 4 more bedrooms, but each bedroom have lock boxes on the outside. And I'm like, this is so freaking weird. But it's unique.
But people will live like that. Like especially, so I think what they were doing, because they'd asked, and you know, it's actually interesting now, because I'm like, I was really out here living wild. I went to go to Airbnbs that were like that. And I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, oh, I'm in Airbnbs with other people.
Nice piece of property, though. Yeah, it was a nice piece of property, but it needed,
It needs some work.
yeah.
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 And I kept looking at it, I'm like, oh, it needs some love. It has some potential.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about that one. It's interesting.
Yeah.
How
You
much
should
is
probably
that?
go walk it. Huh?
How much is that one?
289?
Yep.
I'm sure they'll
It
take
was
less.
actually 260 and they dropped
Did
it.
they drop it?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm sure they'll take
$269.
What's the
less.
address?
I know, that's what I'm hearing, like, you know, my realtor out of town, I think.
6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms.
Yeah.
What?
And they had
She
this
said they
big
just
old,
dropped the price to 269.
they
What's
got a
that?
big
Yeah,
old,
seriously, what's
they
that?
got a big old deck in the
I'll
back.
find it, I'll send it to you.
It was nice. It
Can you pass
has
it to my
a
realtor?
dwelling.
Oh, it's I was just thinking of it. It's the one that, it'll come to me in a second.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, really? Hastings, I think it's,
So then of course we got some of the more traditional ways that we can purchase a house, right? The ways that you always think of it, 20% down, right? That's the stuff that you normally hear. After class, after class, after class. You're in the front of the classroom, I can see you're distracting me. 20% down, that's the normal way that people think about investing, right? You buy 20% down or rent it out traditional. But there are a lot of different ways that you can get into it. And the thing that I want people to recognize is if you can find the right deal, if you can have conversation. Michelle's back, so I'm gonna bring it up again.
Everybody look at Michelle.
Everybody look at it. Everybody look at it and shake their head. If you can talk to, if you have influence, Michelle has influence of like the whole East Side. She's just that person. But if you have connections and influence, you can have conversations, and literally, I can say, hey, I can connect you with somebody that can solve this problem, right? One of the other things that I didn't mention, and we haven't really talked very much about it, is going further down distressed properties. We talk about like foreclosures, bankruptcy, some of those type of things in general, but a lot of times one of the bigger things is like when people have situations where they have title issues, right? Somebody died and this house is a mess. Like this person died, they didn't have a will, this other person was there, and like the family's not on the same page, this person has a partial interest. You can make a lot of money following that path. It's a lot of work, but usually if you can go in and you can solve those problems on those distressed properties, you can literally buy those properties for pennies on a dollar. I buy those properties for pennies on a dollar. I can sell them for 50 cents, get out of it quickly, make a whole bunch of money. And so what that looks like is being the person to say, okay, let me find out about the situation. Let me go and find, okay, your cousin, I have to figure out what the chain is, who all should be heirs of the property. And I've seen some people get really aggressive where I may buy an interest into it, because it's like a company at that point. And so if me and my sister are sharing a property and we don't speak, and I'll do anything to spite her, and she don't want to I'll sell Adez my property for my share for $5. Now Adez can fight with my sister, and Adez is mean.
I will win.
I'm actually doing that right now.
Right, so that's one of the and when you can find those type of deals, and the point of me having this conversation is not with the expectation that you say, oh, okay, I'm ready to today go and fight with somebody on this, right? But I want to put it on your radar because when you are aware that some of these things exist, now you can be a little bit more, hey, that I can recognize there may be something there, right? I can follow that conversation, I can lean more into it, I can pull it in and say, hey, here, let me get enough conversation, and then let me maybe get connected with somebody who can, I may be able to make some cash off of that. I may be able to help you solve the problem, and we may be able to make some money. Who's ready to get started right now? I'm glad you said that.
We're selling knives, guys.
Selling knives.
So, for the people who have come to the class, who have heard me say this 1,000 times, what does Anthony believe the best way to get real estate investing, distress situations? What is the best way that Anthony is recommending? What is the easiest way?
Max out your Amex.
That is not, I'm looking right into the camera, that is not what I said. Sphere of influence.
Say it again.
Sphere of influence. What does that mean? Do we know what that means?
Everybody needs that. Talk to your family, your friends. Hey, you know, who wants to sell the property?
Talk to your family and friends. So, one of the things, I know that we say sphere of influence, and everybody's like, oh, you just don't know my family, I don't know that many people. And, this is going down to, the conditioning thing. And so one of the things that we did in your email, if you scan the QR code and you signed in your email, we actually went through and put together a list of 100 SOI, just for you to actually, and the exercise that I'd like for you to take is to actually print it out and go through, and if you say, I don't have any of those, cross it off. Actually go through the exercise. Because you'd be surprised who is in your SOI that you might be able to have a conversation with that you didn't think about. And so actually going through and saying, okay, the mailman, okay, my kid's school, the teacher, oh, these are people that I actually can. Like, no, they're not the people I would normally think of, but these are people that I can actually go through and I can have conversations, intentional conversations, and find out and let them know that I have an interest in finding real estate, buying real estate, helping solving problems with real estate. But some people are not going to agree to say, no, but you just don't know my people, you just don't know my situation, blah, blah, blah. So I also have on that list, there's another list that we put together that is just some ideas that you can go through. And so the exercise for that is not to go through the whole list and say, I'm going to do all these things. The exercise is to go through the list and find 2 or 3 that I can say, hey, these are some things that I really feel like I can commit to. Like this is something that, or like use them as an idea and say, hey, not this, but I can do something else with this. And this is something that I can consistently, systematically do to create conversations, right? The pressure is not to like, oh, today I'll find $10,000 today. But the reality is, you can find $10,000 today. Like that's for real. But it's systematically going through and saying, okay, here are the things, like I am limited in my time. I've got 3 hours a day, I've got 1 hour a day, I've got 3 hours a week, it's got whatever the time is that I have, I'm just gonna be intentional and I'm gonna be clear that this is exactly what I'm gonna do with that time. And I'm gonna consistently do that, and I guarantee you will start to see results.
So, being under Anthony's mentorship during this club and the years I've known him, I can tell you that if you're really serious about this, the cost of it is getting through your nose quickly so you can get to your yes faster. If you don't go through your nose quickly, you're gonna be stunted, you're gonna not wanna do it, you're gonna get irritated, you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get the no's. You're gonna get the people looking at you and saying, what do you know about real estate? You know, what do you know about real estate? I'm trying to do something, right? So I encourage you, Anthony says it all the time, he pounds us with that, and it's worked for us. It's worked for a lot of people in here. If you get through your nose, you get to your yes. And once you start getting little yeses, they're not gonna stop coming. So just know that it works.
I think especially once you get a taste of the yes, it's a game changer.
It's a problem.
Actually, how much you make on that novation deal?
You want the full numbers?
Sure.
I put $15,000 into the deal. I got $40,000 back at the closing table.
How long did it take you to do that?
3 months.
How much would you have to do?
I worked with a great real estate agent and property project manager who handled everything for me. All I had to do was show up and listen. I paid the mortgage when he asked me to pay the mortgage. I paid the water. I got the water turned on. I dealt with Kirby's antiquated system. It was irritating. I called CPS to get the power line off of it. I poked a hole in the wall and I fixed it. I had to do so little work except just be there, talk to the people, understand the process, and make sure things are moving. That's
Okay,
it.
but let me ask you this. Tell me about the process, like, you had $15,000 you had to put in. How did you get to a place of having that $15,000?
It took us a while. We bought our house in 2018, lived in for 8 years. We built out equity. We ended up taking out a HELOC on it. And then we paid down all of our debts for my own, like, I needed to be secure, right? And I from that, I didn't touch that except for, I paid on some credit cards and I used it for that, right? And then everything, all the little things like the little repair and stuff, like I spent my own money on that, but I focused on my budget. I focused on making sure that if shit hit the fan, so to speak, I was prepared for it. We started saving up as much as we could, cutting back on our spending, paying down our debts, making sure we were ready for it. And I made it known to you that we were interested in doing this. Like, if I had never said that I wanted to do this, I never would have, right? Nobody would have ever known to come to me, because I am actively looking for another house to buy so I can get started, right?
So Ashley, I thought Ashley was giving me the okie doke. So I had a conversation with Ashley and I said, hey, I think y'all really need to sit down and look at your budget. Like, y'all really need to, like as a friend, I think you guys should, like, yeah, anybody who knows me, if you're close enough, I've been in your business and said budget. Sorry, I'm that friend. Right? But I said, hey, you guys really need to. And she said, okay, we're going on a trip. When we come back, we'll do it.
We'll start.
You know what I said? Oh, okay. And then she came back from the trip, and I'm like, oh, y'all were for real. And I tell this story often. This was probably, I don't know how many months later, that Ashley texted me. Only person I know happy to pay for her water heater going out. She said, hey, my water heater went out. And it cost, what was it, $1,300?
I don't remember.
Something like that. Right? She didn't remember. It was a couple years ago. But she said, we paid it and we were okay. Like, that was such a comfortable feeling for us to have to write a check for this, and it didn't destroy us, right? Something along the lines of that, right? And so she's doing and then at the end she's monthly. She's giving me, every time I see her, she's giving me updates. We're here. We're saving here. We're saving here. Our goal is, and we are on track, right? Vision board. She was clear. This is what we are going to save, and they saved it. And so that's where, at the beginning of the next year, she said, I'm going to buy 3 houses this year. And I'm like, the heck? That escalated quickly. And this is the other thing that I didn't mention and I wanted to mention about vision board, right? Sometimes when you are super clear about your vision, and you are sharing that, other people can help you with it. She said, she put it out there, she was very clear that I could help her with that. And we did. But side note, we do have an adult finance class coming up.
The 16th of
The
July.
16th. The 16th. So, we'll be getting in business, we'll be talking, but I think that that was one of those classes that I had my limiting belief. I didn't think adults were going to want to come to, and we're constantly working and reworking, trying to add more value to make the classes super beneficial as best as I can. But we're having that one, and then we have the kids finance class coming up July 12th. I'm going to do my shameless desperation, like I need help. Anybody who's available July 12th to help me with this kids finance thing, please bring help, please be help, please bring help. We need help for this. And invite people. Like the whole purpose is, when I looked at this, when they talked about wealth, specifically, for clarity, I heard something, the statistic that said black wealth will be at 0. The net black wealth will be at 0 by the year 2053. And so I looked at that and I said, what can I do? And I know it's hard to get the adults locked in because we're in our habits and our ways, but I don't know too many people that won't change for the kids. And so that's part of the reason why we started saying, hey, we want to reach the kids so that before they start to get the bad habits, somebody's helping, and we're playing those conversations But sometimes with kids also help us get out of our comfort zone and say, hey, like, let us do, pivot, help, whatever. So those are some of the things we've got coming up, but getting clear about that. And so like the finance, I think that is not separate, because a lot of times the reality is I don't like to, the idea of getting into real estate investing scares me because I don't feel financially sound. And I won't look at the budget. And this has been my analogy of the week because it just, but I'm looking and saying, you know, everywhere I go, I see leaks. I see water running everywhere. Why do I say that? They say that Texas' #1 problem is we don't have enough water for the people that are coming to the state. And they're actively trying to find ways to get water coming to the state. But I see water leaking out everywhere. And I think, how much water would we still need if there was an intentional decision to say, let's go renovate, let's go plug these leaks. Right, we're gonna go find ways to bring more water, but we still have these leaks. And I think that's what it comes to finances, right? Everybody's quick hustle is, let me go look for more money, but I don't wanna stop and look at where are my leaks. I don't wanna plug the leaks because that just feels uncomfortable. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. But realistically, I could, if I were to plug those leaks, I can make my, whatever else additional I bring in, I can make it go a lot further. That's my, get off my finance soapbox. So we have those 2 things that are in there. Also, I have, and I'm getting rid of all the excuses that I can. So you've got the prospecting list to help you with your SOIs, which is Anthony is saying is the best way. You've got the lead generation ideas, and I actively have the foreclosure list right here with the active foreclosures right now. So if you were to go try and pull up or figure out some kind of, like, there is not a reason that you do not have the ability to start doing what you need to do to start making some money immediately.
Is this list from the website that you showed us?
Pivot?
Yes, the one, it's like the San Antonio one?
No, this is not from that one. No. This is a paid list.
Oh. What is that website again?
You can get the foreclosures off of their county records.
She has the list, she was here.
But
She just wants me to do the work again.
Wait, I took a photo, I think I deleted it.
Dang. See, they don't do that in the classes you gotta pay for.
you do have to like check it every day to see if there's any changes in the.
What can I help with right now? What question? So just for clarity, I'm gonna put Hector in the spot because he is in the hard money space. So I'm gonna put him in the hot seat so that you can ask him questions just in case. I know you don't want to do that, and he kind of does his thing, but I'm just gonna put him in the hot seat. Jackie's also a lender for traditional, and she's the person I was talking about for the DSCR. Ralph is a home inspector. So if you need to get your home inspected and say hablo, hable, habla, whatever, he speaks Spanish. What specific, did anybody bring specific real estate questions, problems? I did this thing this last month and I have this idea or this challenge that I ran into. The other thing is, I'm hoping that in between these classes, that you're running into problems, you're finding out things. I got into activity, this thing happened. We can reach and have conversations offline. You can be bringing questions, and here are some things that I couldn't figure out, or here's some things I ran into that I can help and have conversations about. But does anybody have anything specifically, or anything that's been piquing their interest? No?
Can I ask Hector? I have a question on, so on the hard money, right? Is that something that is for a specific period of time?
Yeah, I didn't, when I talked about hard money, the whole thing about hard money, because we talked about it's a high interest loan, the goal is to get in and get out. You don't wanna stay in there for a really long time. Typically, a lot of them will have a 6-month initial, some of them will have a year, but a lot of them will have a 6-month timeline because if you're longer than that and it's not expected, then usually there's a problem. And so they want to be able to escalate things and do whatever they need to do or have new conversations to make sure there's some fire under you. But usually there's 6-month time naturally built into it, but you want to get out of those types of loans as quickly as possible. And so that's where certain products where like the traditional financing could be an option depending on if you got stable employment and credit is fine and those kind of things, or some of the non-traditional things where like maybe you're self-employed or and you can just, they're qualifying based on the property. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so do you have a specific time frame that you want them to refinance out of
It's
it?
usually 6 months.
6 months.
We have the option to extend, but depends on the property.
Usually when you extend, there's a fee for that.
Is there a minimum timeline? Like, do we have to hold it for 3 months? Or like,
No,
if I get it
no.
and done in a week?
Oh,
Not likely, but.
yeah.
You know what else I forgot to tell you guys? There's a thing called transactional funding. Transactional funding, which is good for wholesalers who are trying to do a double close.
We can
Can
do
you
that.
tell me that?
Transactional funding, it's expensive, but they will lend you money for a day.
Oh, no. Well, the title company that I work with, the one I was telling you about, the Texas one, not NTC, the other one, the Alamo. They told me I don't have to do any of that they'll just front all the money. That's why I only want to use them for commercial.
The title company, they're floating the money.
Yes, so pretty much she was like, man, you don't have to put anything down. They're the only title company that I've met that does that. McKnight doesn't do that, none of them else do that. Alamo does it.
McKnight is sketch. You want to do some sketch things, take the McKnight title.
I
That is my, that's on the camera.
Video editing is fine.
Oh, subject 2, what are you talking about subject 2? Subject 2 is another type of financing option. Subject 2 is, Melissa, you said you're in a spot you don't want the house anymore, right? You just want to get out of it quickly. I got an option. I can get you out the house tomorrow. I give you $5,000. Like you just need to go to. You want to move to Mexico. You want to get away from whatever. I was about to. Never mind.
Anyway,
I'll give you $5,000 to help you move to get to Mexico, and I will take over payments. So we can go to the attorney, we can close this transaction tomorrow. That's a subject to. So there is not a requirement for a dollar amount for a subject to. You can actually take over a subject to property just by like, hey, they have agreement, you're solving their problem. Sometimes people are in situations to where they have past due, right? I owe $5,000, $2,000, $8,000, and you have to pay it to get current. But there are some people who are in situations who just say, I just don't want to adult anymore. I have this, I'm making a payment, I just don't want to make the payments. The payments are not behind, I just don't want it anymore.
So the loan doesn't have to be assumable or anything like that?
It's not a subject to. Subject to, assumable is different.
Okay.
Assumable is different.
Sorry.
Assumable, you're actually qualifying with the lender and you're applying and asking for permission. Subject to, you're not asking the lender for permission. In a lot of scenarios, you can. Some people let the lenders know as part of their subject to process, but in a lot of them, like I own a property subject to that we didn't go tell the lender. We transferred the title, I paid him some money, he moved to California, and I'm making the payments.
So you're trusting that they're gonna continue to make the payments to the lender, because if they don't, then your name's on the line. Okay.
That's a risk.
For them, well, so there's risk for everybody, right? Because there's a due on sale clause that says that when the title is transferred, I can call the note due. The bank can call the note due. Now, it is my belief that the banks know a lot of times when they transfer title, especially like the bigger companies, Wells Fargo, they probably don't know, and they don't have the bandwidth to care. As long as the payments are being made, they don't care. Like my interest in this is collecting the interest payments on it. And so if I'm collecting the interest payments on it, it's getting paid, I don't care. Some of the smaller banks, there are some banks that say, hey, we don't like that you did that, fix that, right? And there's ways that you can get out of it. And so if you're looking at it with intention, if you're looking at it, maybe a debt service coverage ratio or some other products where you can get out of it quickly or simply, those could be things that you have in your back pocket. But a subject to could be a easy way to get into a property for little to no money. And a lot of times it's not. It doesn't have to be a distressed situation. You would be surprised at how many people around you just say, nah, being a homeowner is not for me. I don't like cutting grass.
Or inheritance. Sometimes people get parents die, you get a house.
Yep. Sometimes people receive properties. Hey, this property, like it was a family property, but nobody went to it anymore. And I think that house is ugly. I don't want to do anything with it. Right? Options. There's options there. So debt, death, divorce. What's the other one? Debt, death, divorce.
Relocation.
No, there's another D. These are reasons why there will always be real estate investor opportunities. Because when I first started, one of my limiting beliefs is like, I gotta hurry up because I gotta get into investing before all the deals are gone. But people are always gonna have debt. People are always gonna have divorces. People are always gonna pass away. And a lot of times, because there's not a lot of education about real estate, if somebody leaves me, this property is now a burden. Oh, I don't want to pay the taxes on this property. I don't want to be a landlord. Now this property is a burden. Any specific questions I can answer? Has this been beneficial?
Very. Thank
Oh.
you for this.
What'd you say?
Thanks for this.
Yeah. The books that I'm recommending, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Compound Effect, and Outliers. I believe that a big part of this journey, one of the things that's helped me out significantly, getting to a good headspace, becoming Mr. Perfect, changing from Mr. Charlie Brown, is really what kind of information I'm consuming. Putting positive stuff in my mind, hearing things, and a lot of those kind of things helped me recognize, like, pivots. I think that there was one specifically in the Compound Effect. This is kind of my go-to. In the Compound Effect, the first time I listened or read or listened to the Compound Effect, I was at McDonald's, and it gave me a little bit of solace because I'm looking and I felt like, man, I have some friends that I just know I'm doing all the stuff, and like, it doesn't feel fair because they're doing all the bad stuff. And I'm over here at McDonald's and I'm grinding, and it feels like they're in front of me. And there's in the Compound Effect, there's a scenario, this story, where they talk about 3 guys. And the 3 guys, they're all friends, they all hang out, they're the same weight, same height, same whatever. And one of them makes slightly better choices, and one of them makes slightly worse choices. And so one of them eats 150 extra calories a day, right? One of them spends 30 minutes of intentional time with their partner. One of them spends, like there's just minor adjustments that they make. And in a year, their lives are all comparable. They're still the same. In 5 years, there's a slight difference, and it's maybe not enough to notice, but 150 calories a day for 5 years starts to make a difference, positive or negative. In 10 years, there's a significant difference. And I think that was one of the things that helped me because I saw that in real life with me and a couple of my friends. With those friends that I'm looking at, I'm like, it's not fair because I'm grinding, I'm doing these things. 10 years, yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close. But I think being able to consistently consume positive information that kind of helped me understand, and helped me get out of my way, was very much beneficial. On that same path, Bigger Pockets podcast. That's real estate. If you want to start to get locked in with real estate investing and start to understand real estate questions and terms, and there's Bigger Pockets. They've got a community and all this other stuff, but that's a good source for finding a lot of real estate information. I think that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
I actually recommend the Real Estate Rookie podcast specifically for those that are just starting out. It's a great way to just learn all of the different avenues that people are taking as they're starting out. It's geared towards people who have no experience in what they're doing to get started. It's really cool.
The Real Estate Rookie podcast is what she said.